All right, hi, Sage Oak. I am making this for Cassandra, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about front matter and back matter of a novel. And for that, you are really talking, you can actually just grab any book. It's obviously, grab a fiction book, but the front matter refers to the copyright page, the inside title page, refers to any acknowledgments, table of contents. It's basically any physical pages in the book that happen before chapter one. That's called front matter. And then back matter can be note from the author, which, by the way, if they are writing any historical fiction for the novel classes, the back matter would be like author notes would clarify some of that. Some people choose to put their acknowledgments. They choose to put other books by, which your kids really wouldn't have. They really won't have much as far as back matter goes. Oh, and also in front matter, if they're going to be using like maps, if they're doing fantasy and they want to use maps, graphics, some kids want to use quotes. Even though you guys are a charter school, some kids who want to write, books that have like personal meaning, then they might use like scripture or something. And it really kind of depends on your rules. But I do know that it's really up to whatever the kids want. The things that are must be on there is the copyright, which essentially for that the ISBN number is going to be assigned by Amazon, and the copyright is pretty generic. You can Google, basic copyright and see what kind of information is in there. So the United States has an automatic copyright for all creative works. So they do have a copyright. If they wanted to enforce that copyright, they'd probably have to register. But there is an automatic copyright inside the US. So they can put copyright by and then have their name. Other than that, the table of contents and the inside title page, those are what they really have to have. Table of contents is just, obviously their chapters. Now, for short story authors that want to end up publishing, the table of contents obviously is really important because you have a bunch of different stories. And if they are doing like a collection, they might want to put something in the front matter that has to do with that collection. It's totally up to them. So Amazon has some minimum page requirements. I want to say it's like 24 pages is the minimum for publication. So they're going to have, and that includes all of the front matter too. So if they do their books, like choose to do them in Canva, which is really easy to use, then they can do a bunch of that in there by just typing things in. So that's front and back matter. The way that workshops work is actually really, really good for them to learn. You can do this in your short story class for sure. It's not really built into the novel writing class because they're just so busy. But for the short story class, you can make it voluntary. That way students, they don't feel like they have to. Those that want to share their story, it's best that they send it to you and then you email it to the rest of the class. Have them, typically like make a paragraph of notes, feedback on it. And then at the next class, you guys actually review it. So you can kind of keep it limited. You can let the students kind of say what they liked and what they thought could use some improvement or suggestions. That's why you want to teach the proper critiquing, which I think you pretty much know what is a proper critique, right? Tell them what you liked, what worked. Tell them what, personally for you, you might make a suggestion. Make sure the way they frame it. But I think the most important part about critiquing is that the person who is being critiqued, number one, does not get to respond. They just listen and nod to everybody. They don't get a chance to defend themselves, explain themselves, because if it's not on paper and they feel like they have to explain it, well, then they didn't probably write it correctly or as well as they could have, because they shouldn't have to explain their work. I mean, the whole point is it's supposed to be written. And so they don't get to say anything. And they just really have to understand that some of this is just people's point of view. They don't have to take all the feedback. So it's really important to teach critiquing first, like how to critique. You can spend a class doing that. You can do some exercises for that. And then you can do some workshops. Workshops are usually the number one thing that students feel that improves them as an author is when they're actually getting feedback from other people who either are authors or understand the program. Beta readers, that's kind of the whole point of that. So if you can include that workshopping into your class, then I think that would be fantastic. That's a great idea. So when it comes to the critiquing, again, I think that you already kind of get the gist of that, how to do that. It's good to teach that, then to do some workshops, and you can actually fill in quite a few classes. You should have plenty of volunteers. A lot of kids really like to share their work. So you can fill several classes with that, and they will enjoy it. And it gives them homework, but it also fills in some other state standards when it comes to reviewing work, speaking orally, even though it's not a presentation, analyzing, critical analyzing, comparing what was written to like what they've learned, and that way they're actually properly assessing what they've learned with a sample. So they're demonstrating, the learning concepts in that way too. So I think that helps. When it comes to your short story class and publishing, again, I would just point them in the right direction. Have them get in touch with Amazon, set up a KDP account. I would definitely do kind of a hands-off with that. But one of the things you can talk about is, hopefully by this next week, I'm going to get you a flyer for the Arcadian, which is going to be our literary magazine and our literary journal. And I'm excited about that. We expect to start taking submissions within a week. So when you get the flyer, it should be open for submissions, because we do definitely want to get a lot. And they are open to anybody who is between the ages of 10 and 18, as long as they're in school. So if they're an 18-year-old but they're still in school, they can submit. There are some guidelines on the submission that will be on the flyer, and certain genres that we accept. And obviously all the content has to be very clean, very much appropriate for 10-year-olds, which is the youngest age. So it has to be clean as far as like content. If they have any specific questions, we will have some details on the website that they can go to, and like, okay, is violence okay? Is that okay? And which is, yes, you can have, like a murder mystery. We will have different age categories of what we accept as well. We're going to want to publish the gamut of ages. So that'll be really motivating for them, even if they can't publish their own work in their own book necessarily. Maybe they don't write more than, 2 or 3 stories. And then they can submit for publication. But that's also good for them to learn how to, unfortunately, deal sometimes with, get used to start dealing with rejection. If they do want to be a writer in any way, shape, or form, or consider, anything in the arts, it's good for them to unfortunately learn rejection, and to learn usually if there's a rejection, if they're close and we really like it, but we want them to edit it, we'll do that. So there's a lot of great things in there for them. For the Arcadian, I will get that to you. And again, turning the short story from a short little summer camp into a full semester is a new thing. I'm excited to develop it, so please give me your feedback and any other questions that you have. I hope these videos are easier for you, and just let me know if you have any questions, all right? Thanks, guys. Thank you, Cassandra, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.